you get them from that 0 to 3, 0 to 5 years old, you're intentionally building into a relationship for their good and for you to be forgotten. Because everything that you're doing is just connecting neural pathways and connecting the ability to self-regulate and to feel connection and to build into relationship. Because so much of that happens within those first 3 years of life.
It's like such a worthy cause to pursue. It's like we want to love these kids because like every kid is like infinitely valuable. Every person is infinitely valuable. And that's so obvious to us, but like sometimes people forget that really is the core of treating people like humans, treating people with empathy.
The hardest step in growing a business isn't starting something, but it's the first hire. When you got to take that risk of going, okay, am I bringing somebody else into this?
Yeah.
And now they're relying on me also. It's like this weird, do we have enough coming in to be able to pay 2 salaries? But
as connected as the world is, it's like we're very disjointed a lot of times. And
this is the loneliest generation, statistically.
I know.
And yet we're the most connected.
Mistakes happen, things get missed, you know, and like that's totally fair, but it's on me.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
It's like the accountability part.
Yes.
Which I never thought, but it's like my favorite part. Because I'm like, it's on me.
Yeah.
You know, if I want a new client, it's on me. If I want, you know, to fix something, like who's going to do it?
The quality of the work says something about who I am.
Exactly.
All right, welcome back to the Slightly Over-Caffeinated, Mildly Underqualified Chronicles of West Texas Commerce and Other Grand Delusions of Self-Employment. My name is Landon. Today we are talking with Justin Smith. He is a serial entrepreneur, though he doesn't claim that. He's done a lot of house flipping, but his big thing that he's been working on the past few years is Vessel Church, which he is the pastor of, and Open Homes Initiative, which acts as a bridge between the foster community and foster families and churches and resources. Justin and I grew up together here in town. We both went to Grace Temple, got to know each other over a decade, you know, between church and youth ministry and everything after that as well. And so we have a good kinship to begin with, but now we get to kind of chat about entrepreneurship and that journey and how things have been. So we talked about everything from social media in schools. We've talked about house flipping and growing a business and your first hire and a lot of really cool random subjects, honestly, for a lot of it. But ended up just being a great conversation. Not going to hold you any longer. Appreciate you listening to this episode. We're going to jump straight into it.
So I know you and I are working together on Open Homes Initiative stuff, which has been really fun.
Yeah.
I'm like crying behind the camera the whole time listening to people's stories.
There's some incredible stories out there, and we just gotten started.
Yeah, we just did one. And of course, like you and Chelsea and Jolly did one last week as well. So like, I'm just going to get all of my emotion. I'm going to really emotionally mature.
That's right.
In the next couple weeks. You're like, okay, it's fine to cry, right? But I also know, at least you've like mentioned in passing that you do some other stuff as well. So I just thought we can kind of talk about everything. I know as a guy who just trying to make it work, you know, for a business, for my family.
Yeah, just trying to make it work. You started to excel. Don't sell yourself short.
Well, I mean, all you have to do is like, you get 1% better every time you go to do something, right? And you just pick the thing and you're like, I want to improve in lighting. I'm going to get every light I have and put it out. I'm going to work on, you know, audio that's not podcast mics. And that's what this was. Thankfully, I started way early to set up because I got kind of hyper-fixated on several things. Like I could have simplified it, but why do that?
Why do that? This is fun.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what your day looks like or just what all you do.
Okay. I don't know that they would call me a serial entrepreneur. I don't think I'm necessarily that, but I do have a habit of starting things, being the one that likes to start things. And I'm not sure if that's simply because I don't like having bosses or if it's I'm egotistical enough to always think I can do it better, or if it's a gift or a curse. I'm kind of stuck on.
I realized that I'm a bad employee. That's really what it came down to.
It could be that.
I had to learn to be accountable for my own ambitions and be like, I gotta just have to do it myself.
I can see that. So 7 years ago, Chelsea and I started off on a church planting journey. And so we were on church staff for a while and then stepped away from that to figure out what it would look like to plant a church, have a heart for healthy churches, and really thought we could use some more here in San Angelo. And so we spent 2 years kind of getting trained up and healthy enough to see if we could plant something. And so we started the Vessel Church 7 years ago. The same time that we were planting that, we decided to start a house flipping business. And so we spent about 6 years flipping houses, done dozens of houses around San Angelo in that time frame. And then about 2 years ago, well, the year after we started both of those, so 2018-ish, 2019, we jumped into the foster care arena. And so that's not necessarily entrepreneurial. That's more just trying to meet the needs of those around us. And so we fostered for about 6 years at the point that we decided it was time to do something new with that. And so we started a support group for foster parents 2 years ago. And over that time, it's kind of grown. And so now, currently, I've backed off on the flipping of houses and just have, if something comes up, then I take that. But for the most part, I'm very focused in two arenas right now. One being the church world, and then one being this foster care kind of initiative that we've got called the Open Homes Initiative. And so we started with support groups a couple years ago. And then last year, about 1 year from October, so 1 year ago, we really fleshed out the nonprofit itself, and I started getting paid from that to spend a day a week focused on helping churches engage the foster care arena. And so I get to go invest in churches. I get to go speak with pastors and some of their staff, or ideally even volunteers within their churches, to build out a foster awareness, a foster care support team within their church. And if they have foster kids or if they have foster families, to really help them support those better.
Yeah.
And so that's been birthed out of that. And so far the Open Homes Initiative has just grown on a number of fronts. And so it's been a fun addition there. So I've got my hands in just a number of places.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you said dozens of flips. Is that like over how many years? That's like pretty high frequency.
So dozens, I'd say in the 20s, maybe mid 20s. We started with me doing pretty much all the work myself. And then we slowly over time hired more and more out as our church grew. And so
but I imagine you can kind of like invest, like actually paying somebody to do it, further down the road.
Yep.
As somebody who like finally hired an editor to like handle, a lot of the podcasting stuff. Like at the beginning, you're just like,
they do,
12, 13, 14-hour days, just like kind of
it is. By. They say in growing a business, the hardest step in growing a business isn't starting something, but it's the first hire. When you got to take that risk of going, okay, am I bringing somebody else into this? Yeah. And now they're relying on me also. It's like this weird, do we have enough coming in to be able to pay two salaries? But that first hire is that hardest.
Well, and you just have to kick yourself and do it eventually, because you're like, the more time I spend doing, the stuff that I can hire out, the less time I can do.
Absolutely.
Reaching out to people, getting, quoting things like, just recently I realized like the ebb and flow that I have in my business is just like me panicking and reaching out to people, and then panicking and then reaching out to people. It's like, if I was just consistent at reaching out to people.
If I would reach out before I get to the panic phase, or the overwhelmed phase, or my wife is yelling at me for not spending time at home phase, or
honestly though, like that's the weird part with me bringing in, an editor was sitting there being like, panicked, because I was like, what do I do right now? Because I'm so used to being busy with like the grunt work that I'm like, oh, now I have to like revamp my entire day.
Yep, absolutely.
It's so weird to be like, I'm spending time quoting things, proposals, reaching out to people, and like obviously doing QA is another thing I'm realizing is a thing, especially with the video stuff, being like, I gotta watch everything and not just trust that it's good. Mistakes happen, things get missed, and like that's totally fair, but it's on me.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
It's like the accountability part.
Yes.
Which I never thought, but it's like my favorite part, because I'm like, it's on me.
Yeah.
If I want a new client, it's on me. If I want, to fix something, like who's going to do it?
Yeah. The quality of the work says something about who I am.
Exactly.
And what I find valuable, or what sets my business apart.
Yeah.
And so either I run with that or I avoid it.
One thing that you mentioned was you started paying yourself enough to like do a day a week with the Open Homes Initiative. Tell me a little bit about what kind of led to
some of that. So when we planted the church, we started with a bivocational mindset, because we wanted the church to be able to be self-sustaining as quick as possible. And so I had the house flipping business. In my mind, the way that my paychecks worked, I got paid for 3 days worth of work from the church. So 24 hours, I spent 24 hours in whichever way, shape, form, or fashion that played itself out. That was my goal for the church, and I'd spend 16 hours on business. And so over time, that's kind of just shifted. And so over time, I've moved, as the church grew, moved into 4 days a week with the church plus Sundays. So almost 5 days a week with the church. And then I've tried 1 day a week to keep. And so originally that moved from me doing a lot of the housework to be just being a general contractor for our houses 1 day a week.
Yeah.
Or essentially 8 hours spread out over the week when I would go meet with people or open buildings or make sure that different things were handled. As we started to grow the Open Homes Initiative, that was kind of an option just right there. To get to this next step, that first hire for us was actually just me, because it was a lot of volunteer stuff that we'd done until that point. And are we at a point now that we're ready to take this to that next step? And as my house flipping, do we feel a call from God to step back from that and move more this direction? And so it was more of a trade-off for us. We just said, okay, we're done the house flipping side of things. If something comes up, it becomes my side job.
Yeah.
And so the way that my typical week works now is Tuesdays are more heavily devoted to open homes and make a lot of the contacts then. And I'll probably spend about 4 hours really focused on that. And then I'll leave 4 hours that's more flex throughout the week. So I can answer phone calls or attend some meetings. I'm part of some stuff that's more of a citywide kind of initiative called West Texas Together. That's why I say citywide. It's more of a region-wide. And so the region in the foster care system stretches from here to Midland down to Fort Stockton. We've got a region that's bigger than 13 states in the U.S., right? And so it's a very different kind of scenario than for the foster care system that is in Dallas or the foster care system in Austin or pretty much anywhere else except El Paso. El Paso knows what we're dealing with in West Texas. So we've got this broad regional effort that's trying to do foster care better, both in Midland and San Angelo, the Permian Basin and the Concho Valley, and trying to figure out how to do that. So I get to be a part of that initiative as well. So those 4 hours focused on really OHI, and then 4 hours it's much more flex. And I just kind of weave those in wherever necessary so that I can then spend my other hours on the church.
Are you pretty do you log that and you're pretty strict about it? Or is it just kind of I don't feel like it's necessary to be unless you're reporting to somebody.
No, the specific hours is more in the back of my head. Everything I get paid is actually salaried.
Gotcha.
So
cool.
Yeah, it's more in the back of my I spend way more than 8 hours. So at some point it was like it's not worth logging.
Yeah, I figured it's like I have a 40-hour work. It's 60, 80. Yeah, it depends on the week.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So no, I don't. I try to have a block schedule so that it's kind of blocked off as much as possible. But then the weeks ministry in general doesn't allow for that. Like being in church ministry, it is very difficult just to go, this is what I'm working on now. Mm-hmm. We've got the ideals, but somebody's walking in, somebody's calling in crisis, some situation pops up, something that doesn't get covered needs to get covered. I mean, a number of things kind of come up. And so week to week is always random. It's one of the things I love about it and about it.
I feel like the hit rate for ADHD and entrepreneurship is pretty high.
I can see that.
It's like needing, not even just like being able to handle multiple things at once, but needing to be able to handle.
Needing to feel almost uncomfortable if I'm not. I can't sit and have like right now I need something to do with my hands.
I know. So. we had a podcast that was called Bricks and Business where we had a Lego set that we were both building at the same time.
That's what I need.
Which is fun. And like, we can bring that up again, but it's like, oh man, it took so much time to set that up. That was my problem.
I can see that.
Like, as much as I spent doing this, like it was like I had like overhead cameras. I had like,
got to see all of the intricacies of the Lego.
And all the sets that I would buy are like secondhand, which means they're not in bags, which means you have to like kind of organize it. Otherwise, you're hunting for pieces the whole time. But mostly, Seth and I would do that together. Seth Como, and he rambles. The dude just talks. And like as bad as I am, he's like 10 times worse. So I was like, I need something to do with my hand while he's talking.
I've got somebody left at a church one day. I have no idea. So somebody watches this and they're like, hey, that's mine. There you go. He can come get it. But it's a mini Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
And so it's like this size. Right. And so meeting after meeting, I just sit and I play with the mini Rubik's Cube while we're visiting or talking. And I've got 3 or 4 different things like fidget things on my desk. Yeah.
Have you timed yourself on solving a Rubik's Cube?
I have not timed myself, but I've gotten decent.
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty decent.
I got kind of hyper fixated on Rubik's Cubes for a little while there. I tried to get like an easier to solve cube. It's actually just harder to solve. I just need to get a better one. But
this one doesn't like to spin real well. So
yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to time on this thing because half the time it just half crumbles.
I
So
can't imagine. It's
I need to
like
get
the
a good
size
one.
is like
no, it's like a 1 inch by 1 inch, and it's little and fun.
Yeah.
So
That's too
pretty
funny.
fun.
No,
But it's
I
not
have a
overly
super
distracting
fast.
for other people as I'm it's not like I'm listening, I promise.
I think as a society we're starting to figure that out.
I do a lot of puzzles, those
Yeah,
kind of things.
puzzles are
Long
fun.
ones and stuff. So
Puzzles don't usually get finished at our house. It gets destroyed.
the
by
kids
time-
the kids come through and
Yeah, and like the kids are ADHD too, so it's like they're like, oh, this is fun, and it takes them more than a second. They're, yeah,
and then I'm on to something else.
see you later. I think one thing that I am interested to hear about is like the decision to have more of an income on the side with the church than like having to like make the church pay for the entire. So like you're doing the house flipping and stuff. To do that instead of putting that burden on the church. Talk to me about that decision a little bit.
The average church, when starting, takes 3 to 5 years to become self-sufficient, right? And the majority of planters go and raise funds like a missionary would. They go and support raise, and so they go travel around, talk to people they know, people that might be interested in the location they're planting, that just want to see a healthy church, whatever the case may be. The normal planting route takes 3 to 5 years, and you've got a full-time guy, maybe 2, that have support raised. And so the goal initially for the church, if you say it that way, it sounds strange to say it that way, but the goal initially is to be able to support their own pastors by the time their support raising runs out, right? And so a number of churches are planted this way. It's not a bad model by any stretch. I've got tons of friends that have gone that route, but what we felt the Lord calling to and gifting us really for was the ability to start with a little bit different approach, and that is the bivocational approach. We wanted to be self-sustaining as quick as possible, and then to slowly grow from that. Support raising, for me, just never seemed to be something the Lord called me into. I don't think it's bad, but it just wasn't where he called me into. And so he gave me the ability to start other businesses, to not be scared to jump in where other people might go, and to really bet on myself, I guess, in that. Or rather, I'd say bet on him working in and through me and my giftings.
Yeah.
And so our entire church is built more around that type of model where we want to be as effective as we can in all that the local church does, but at the same time be able to send as much money out and to use our finances in a way that actually advances the kingdom more broadly than just locally. And so we planted a church that's not only bivocational, but is also portable. And so right now, we're recording this on whatever day it is, a Monday evening.
It's Monday.
And my brain goes everywhere.
Yeah.
We're recording this on a Monday evening. The majority of our church items are in a trailer, that's at one of our elders' house. Every Sunday we'll come in, we'll set up stages, curtains, chairs, sound, lights, and everything. And then we'll take it all back down, because in doing so, all the money that we spend on facilities, which is normally a very large expense, all the money we spend on facilities goes to the seniors in our city. Right, we rent out the senior event center, and so everything that we spend goes directly into our seniors, rather than being spent just on brick and mortar. That's already paid for, and ours can just go into different things to upgrade their buildings, to increase some of the care, to whatever the city decides to use it on. And so we went more that route, where we were going, how can we more strategically use our funds and keep the costs low, and then we send 15+% of our income out to other places, largely to church planting, but also to initiatives around the city and such. And so that's more the mindset. And in doing it that way, we became self-sustaining in just 2 years, as opposed to 3 to 5.
Yeah.
And so, and then we've slowly been able to just add hours to me, or we run 7 staff, six or 7 staff now. They get paid just different amounts based on how many hours that they work and their gifts, so that they can be more tailored, specialized to their specific ministries.
Yeah.
That route, instead of more one broad-based kind of individual. So,
I mean, the way technology has enabled like PA systems and things like that to be smaller, more powerful, more affordable as well. I feel like doing that 15 years ago would have been a little bit more difficult. You would have a bunch of tube amps and stuff. Whereas now, I mean, obviously I've like done a lot of like church production and stuff like that in my day. I think there's something that has to do with like scrappiness to be able to like figure that out.
I could say that. Yeah.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that gene that I could figure it out kind of gene, because I've done the same thing. I converted a Sprinter van into an RV twice.
Yeah.
Sold both of them for profit, which is insane.
It
Like
is.
the whole, and that was obnoxious. I'm not doing that. I had a couple of choices.
That's what we all say. That's what we all say. I'm not doing that anymore. And then this isn't the same thing. Yeah, it's a very small difference, but you're doing the same thing.
No.
You can't help it.
The second time was like way more complicated. I was like, okay.
Just stepped it up.
I was like, we're not doing that. It was a family of 5 sleeping in a Sprinter van.
In a Sprinter van. Family of 5. That one I would agree. Till the kids are out of the house. And then you and Lauren will go back to, you know what? Remember we had that Sprinter van? Let's do it again.
No, it would just be a Volkswagen, like Westie.
Oh, okay.
It would probably be what it is. I do think that a lot of entrepreneurs have that kind of scrappiness of like being willing to put in the sweat in order to save, and I feel like a lot of it is ideological in the same way. It's like,
right.
I believe in either a quality product or I believe in our church is going to be given, X amount.
Absolutely. Yeah. We use the phrase consistently, simplicity with excellence.
Yeah.
Right. We want simplicity, but everything we do, we want to do it with excellence. And it speaks exactly to that.
I need to work on the simplicity.
The simplicity.
No, overdue. It's in the pursuit of excellence.
It is in the pursuit of excellence. This is pretty simple in many ways.
Yeah, I completely forgot to put something on the table. Drink. They could
just
put
random table.
Just a table. I'll put a CGI plant.
There you go. Just
a Venus flytrap or something.
It's randomly going for people or something.
Yeah.
I like
snaps.
anytime that you get close to it.
Unfortunately, with AI, I actually could do that, but I'm gonna have to future land and do not do that. Please don't give yourself more work.
When you watch this.
Yeah. I know for Open Homes Initiative, you and I are working together on the content side of things, trying to get the word out more. I'm curious just your take on that. Obviously, on my end of things, I believe I'm like ideological about content being like, it's affordable to post. Like it takes it's $0 to actually post on Facebook. And so it's like content creation itself that you kind of invest the time and energy into and making a bunch of it.
This is more one of my first dabbles or steps into that content creation, right? So we haven't done a whole lot with the church.
You live stream on Sundays, though,
We
right?
live stream on Sundays, yes. So we do have that, but we're overly simple on some of those aspects. We started that more with the mindset of relationships being what brings people to the church rather than websites and social media. We talked about it being, we want our small groups to be the back door entrance, and we want the majority of people to use the back door.
Yeah.
Right. Or our small groups to be the front door, and they lead them in the back. Right.
Oh, gotcha.
And we don't really have a front door of the church in that sense. And what I've seen over the last 7 years is there's a number of good reasons to open up that front door, I guess, through website, through social media, through just a number of other apps or platforms, I guess you could say. And so we're currently moving to utilize all of those better. This is more my first dabble, I guess, into some of these areas. What I'm encouraged by and what I'm hopeful for is to produce content for our people church-wise that will provide a lot of depth in their spiritual growth and increase the ability to disciple people even when we're not necessarily with them, a lot of those kind of aspects. But more specifically on the open home side, and I'm really excited to just get the stories that I've got the opportunity to hear over the last year or two into the greater public.
Yeah.
Right. Like you said, you've been sitting behind the camera and just going, wow, that's fun. And we've only done 3 episodes. And so and we haven't even shown them to anybody else.
Yeah, this is for us right
this
now.
Is like, this is really cool. This is really fun. And then I want to keep talking to people. I want to get on, like, come on in. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about where it's going just to hear people hear the stories, hear the stories of people hearing the stories.
Yeah.
Right. And then to see what transpires because of that.
Yeah.
And the way that we can work that into the city. And so the common heartbeat here, right, is that passion for the adoption, for the foster kid, for the others that didn't have your story per se, but had something a little more difficult and heart-wrenching. And so we want to keep kids from having been forgotten, from having missed something in the system, from not having the experience that some of the stories we've gotten to tell right now are. And so the goal for us then is, and I think this is a key platform for it, as we get the word out to create enough open homes, right, that there's a waiting list of families rather than a list of kids waiting on the families, right? I'm excited to see where it goes. It'll be fun. And then to transition that back into my other avenues, right? To go, okay, I've gotten more comfortable in front of a camera. I guess we can now write some discipleship content. We can now even do some interviews with some of our people to increase our ability to do some of these. I think there's a number of avenues that we can run to in that. And so the affordability side, I really appreciate you and your efforts on that front. To try to make it as affordable as possible.
Yeah, of course.
But like you said, there's something that goes into all of this, but also just the time that it takes to edit, to watch, to review, to splice together, and to really make it creative and effective.
Well, I get to watch podcasts firsthand as the editor, because I listen to podcasts all the time anyway. So I'm also making them and listening to them. So it's kind of symbiotic. I don't talk about it a ton, but I'm adopted. I was adopted at 3 days old. I don't remember anything. I've never really met my birth parents or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like very clearly blessed by having the family I have and getting, the upbringing that I got. Like I could very easily had a very different story.
Absolutely.
And even my wife too. Like my kids are like that much more like their chances of existing are even lower, because her mom got pregnant with her at 15.
Oh, wow.
In California. Like me being adopted and my parents, birth parents not making that choice, and my wife's parents not making that choice. And then we have kids.
Yeah.
So it's like those kids existing. They're like, usually it's like what, 400 trillion to 1. It's like a chance to be a human. It's like mathematically.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like 1.2 quadrillion. It's like
way on at that. You don't know how lucky you are. You don't know.
We're gonna have to use that.
That's right. You have no idea how lucky you are.
I'll have ChatGPT do the math for me and be like, that's gonna be
the odds of your existing right now.
But yeah, no, I mean, I believe in the mission that you guys are doing. I love the idea of having more homes than kids who need homes.
Yes.
Like that to me, it's like such a worthy cause to pursue. It's like we want to love these kids, because like every kid is like infinitely valuable. Every person is infinitely valuable. And that's so obvious to us, but like sometimes people forget that really is the core of treating people like humans, treating people with empathy. Even the story we heard earlier about Hannah and how, Sarah was talking about how she like, it's easy to be frustrated, I assume, as a foster parent, to be like, how, like I heard Jolly talk about that. How could you make the decisions you made? But then Sarah and Hannah had this relationship that developed where Sarah was like, that could have been me. Certain scenarios happen to you outside of your control. And like, if you have a certain DNA, that even like makes it that much harder.
You to something.
Hearing that, I feel like I can't imagine. We've talked about fostering. I think we will eventually end up down that path at some point, but I can't imagine the difficulty that goes into bringing in this child that you're like, all right, like I have to give this kid everything.
Right.
They deserve for me to be heartbroken when they drive out of the driveway,
Chelsea talks about, if we do our job, we're intentionally building into a relationship in order to be forgotten.
Yeah.
Right. If you get them from that 0 to 3, 0 to 5 years old, you're intentionally building into a relationship for their good and for you to be forgotten, because everything that you're doing is just connecting neural pathways and connecting the ability to self-regulate and to feel connection and to build into relationship, because so much of that happens within those first 3 years of life.
Yeah.
And yet they're not even going to remember you.
Yeah.
Right? We've got a story, and we'll have to do a podcast on it, where we brought the kid home from the hospital, and we still have a relationship with the mom. The daughter is now 3 years old, I think, and she has no clue who we are.
Yeah.
And she's not old enough to do that. I'm sure whenever she's 12 or she's 15 and we can share stories and go, we're the people that got to bring you home from the hospital.
Yeah.
And this is the reason you have these pictures. But 6 months in, we handed her off to another family to get adopted, and so it's interesting. And so, we see her and we're like, we love this little girl, and she has no clue who we are.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting arena for sure.
It's extremely self-sacrificial for the sake of somebody else.
Yep.
That's the gospel story as well.
That's the root for us. That, I can't imagine not having that as the backbone of why you get into foster care. If you're doing it without that, it almost just doesn't make sense to me. But it's one of the clearest displays, tangible displays of the gospel in our current culture. The willingness to enter into to self-sacrifice on behalf of another that in no way can fight for themselves, right? That can't do anything on their own. And it's you enter into their story to essentially bring them back to health, to restore what was broken to the best of your ability, and then eventually to just, I would say to be forgotten, but that's not the gospel aspect. So,
Right.
but the self-sacrificing aspect.
It's not going to be a perfect one-to-one. There's a lot of parallels.
The entering into stories is a big part of it. And so,
And as somebody who's gotten into video content more and more, and like now I watch movies completely differently. Because like it's hard not to be like, oh, I wonder how they lit that. Like, there's a story going on. Pay attention to the story. But like the stories really are the backbone as well. Of like, I've heard you say a couple of times, like every story matters. And like each individual story matters. And I think that's just a really cool, not just outlook in life, but that's a really cool mission. And like I feel like as I'm kind of looking into podcasting, largely for selfish business reasons, but like trying to think through like, okay, what's the story here? You know, to me, that's
what you do. That's what you do in podcasting, is tell the story of something.
Hopefully, I mean,
whether it's business or whether it's that's true.
I could just read the dictionary as a podcast. I don't think anybody.
Hopefully
nobody will listen to.
I can think of one or two people, but
there's gonna get a couple of fans.
There you go. It's not gonna be a top 10.
No, it's not gonna be. Do you have any like really interesting stories about the starting of Open Home Initiative?
I would say the main reason that we started, and Chelsea would speak more into this, but the main reason we started Open Homes was just seeing a disconnect between so many different arenas and so many different organizations and so many different attempts all around the city to care for this area, and largely for churches not even knowing where and how to get involved. Right. And so not just churches, but also families. And so as we got into the system 8 years ago, it seems like every 6 months or every 3 months or every so often, we'd come across some new thing we didn't even know existed. And it was like, why are we not all working together? Like, why is it so disjointed? Why are there however many foster closets? And why are there so many different organizations doing this? And why does this one never get heard? And so we developed from that a desire really to be a bridge between the system and the church and foster parents, right? And so that's kind of, we navigate those three realms constantly. And so if there's foster parents that need to know how to get into how to be served in a certain way, maybe we plug them in with this organization or this church, or there's churches that go, we want to be mission-minded, we just don't know where the mission field is. And strangely enough, lots of churches are in that realm. They're just like, we've got funds set aside. We just don't know where the needs are in San Angelo. And so we can then plug them in with some of those needs, be that the specific foster parents or be that the organizations, right? And so the goal for us is just be that bridge in between. And so what really brought us into that was entering into that arena ourselves. And then as we've talked about, just more my entrepreneurial spirit going, okay, somebody's got to do something, why not me?
Yeah.
Right. And so we said, let's get this started. And so the first step was support groups. And the goal behind that was just meeting the first initial needs. And so we got a couple families together that had similar heartbeats. And we said, would y'all help us get this going? And then what are some of our goals with that? And some of those goals were just care and support. And then respite is a huge thing. The ability for foster parents to go on vacation or to leave a kid somewhere for babysitting just to get away for a time, those kind of things, to give a break in the midst of the battle, right? Which is why it's called respite. And so we said, all right, let's start a group. And one of the goals of that group is going to be able to create a network of individuals that can just help love and serve each other. And so we started to do that. What we've seen from that is people staying in the game longer, right? The people that have been, we've only had one family that has been a part of the support group that has stopped fostering. And that was after they took 3 or 4 placements. Right? Everybody else is either adopted or still in the game, essentially. And so that need was met. And so then we started going, okay, based on all the other needs that we hear from this, how can we then start to spread this thing out even more and start to cast some vision for that? And so that's really more where the broader version of Open Homes began was okay, what's next? And so we're still exploring all of the what's next.
Yeah. Well, and community is such a huge piece, with Open Homes, it seemed like you were just like people, like connecting people is really what, and I know like for Vessel, that's like a big piece of it too. It's like, we want to create a community of people who love and care about each other and support each other. And like, that's where you create these like mini, found families along the way as well. But, we, as connected as the world is, it's like we're very disjointed a lot of times. And
This is the loneliest generation, statistically.
I know.
And yet we're the most connected. No.
I think, like this stuff might end up on screens, but like having that just be a barrier between human connection.
Absolutely.
Whether you're, even just walking around a store, whether you're doing like, you're just not like seeing somebody's eye line because they're
Yes.
in their
Yeah.
phone. One thing that's positive is that, I think there's certain states that are banning cell phones in the school. I think Texas might be headed that direction if they haven't already. But
They're
like,
not in our public schools right now. Many of our schools, San Angelo schools, have removed cell phones.
yeah,
Yep.
like that's such a positive. I mean, you and I didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I didn't realize that kids could like have their phones.
I didn't realiase that either.
I'm like, you can what? You
Why?
can just like have your phone.
Why?
Like we would all be cheating all the
Yes,
time.
yes.
Like, you tell me
How
I
are
can
you
just
learning
like,
anything? No wonder we're plummeting in all the educational stats.
I know. And like not making as many friends. And of course that's going to affect
Yes.
loneliness.
Not to mention bullying that goes on in the midst of social media because
Yep.
we don't have the interpersonal. And so we can be much more vindictive or we can be
Yeah.
much more outspoken and find our identity in some other realm or means.
That anonymity of social media can really do that as well, which is
Yes.
like I literally have my entire name as my username and everything. I'm like, I put my name on this stuff, like
Yes.
I want to make sure that I know that it's not a reputation thing. It's an accountability thing. Of like, I want to treat somebody like they're going to treat me. So like
Yes.
even look, during COVID, I had a lot of arguments on Facebook in San Angelo. I was railing at people and like learned from that, but scaling it back a little bit, but
Doesn't mean we're not passionate.
no, we're just gonna drive some positivity and some
Yeah.
passion that direction.
And let's meet over coffee.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I've talked about doing podcasts or like talking about, I tend to be more left leaning and I know a lot of San Angelo's a lot more right leaning, but I think we're a lot more purple than a lot of us realize. Like everybody wants freedom. Everybody wants.
That's
like,
what the lack of relationships has produced.
Yeah.
This feeling we're all on extreme ends. And when you meet face to face, you realize that we still have so much more in common than we have that takes us apart.
genuinely. Like we get stuck in our echo chambers
do.
and like start vilifying people who are a little bit different than us and a lot less different than us than we
Absolutely.
realize because we just haven't talked to them.
Yeah. Sad.
Now get back to campfires and telling stories around campfires.
There you go.
That'll
There
do
you
it.
go.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time. If for people to find out what you're doing with open homes, like where would you direct people to for that kind of stuff?
If you want to know more about open homes, you can check out our website or Facebook and Instagram. We probably a little more active on there. Website's still getting built out. Or you can send us an email or whatever. We'd love to give some more information or hear your story, I guess would be another.
Well, and like I'll throw in something I didn't realize outside of like you guys' podcast. I know so many random industries just from like making content for them, but it's cool to see that if you wanted to help out with fostering, it's not just taking in kids. You can make meals.
Absolutely.
You can do something like what's relatively small in the grand scheme of things,
Absolutely.
but it makes a huge difference when you randomly get 2 foster kids unexpectedly, and now you have to deal with, well, we have to feed
What
these.
are we doing for food tonight?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like having frozen meals, just tossing them out. It's such a
Absolutely.
huge. It's like even that, like if you want to help out at something and you know how to follow recipe, which is, please tell me that you can follow recipe. I can follow recipe and I cannot cook. I can make macaroni and cheese.
There we
all
go.
right?
There we
Hot
go.
dogs and mac and cheese.
That's more. That'd be more mine. I'd go fix something. But
Yeah. I can make an oven pizza, all right?
That's right.
But if you want to get involved in that way, that's a very simple way, but that actually does make a difference. So I'd encourage you. You know, I know you guys are going to be coming out with more resources and things like that in the future too. So keep an eye on that. But yeah,
Absolutely.
appreciate your time.
for sure. Thanks, man.
Thanks for watching. Again, if you can go support Open Homes Initiative with both following them on social media, check out the Vessel Church as well, give them a like and a follow, check out all their content, comment on everything, like everything. You know, that's always a big boost for people who are trying to put out content. It does more than you realize. And then if this content was fun to listen to, was engaging enough, if you'll give me a like, a subscribe, a follow, you know, leave a comment, and so I can know what resonated with you the most, you know, what direction you kind of want to see content go as well. I love taking questions from the audience. We'll be putting out episodes regularly. I'm planning on weekly, so you should see a new episode next week as well. So make sure to subscribe and get notified for when those drop, because I would appreciate it if you followed along. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.